Hi everyone, this is Chris on YouTube again for the quick tutorial. I've got my iPhone and I'm using that for a quick one. Somebody's backed out of my drive, smashed into my wall, knocked it down, and so I've got to do a quick repair. The problem is the brickwork is Indian stone. It's random sizes, thicknesses and depths, so it's very hard to get a nice straight line, but it can look unusual when it's pointed up. I've just raked it out in the past, but it looks a bit of a codge, but I just want to do a quick tutorial how to repair a brick wall when it's damaged. Okay guys, let's get to it. Okay, what I've got here is a lump hammer, we call it in England, or you might call it a club hammer. I've got a small bolster chisel, and I've got my old brick hammer. It's an old one because it's got a wooden handle. I like wood, it's nice to work with. But here we've got to clean off the bricks first before we can build them, and dress down those bricks that have got the mortar still on. So I'm going to start chopping away. You do need goggles for this, so I'm going to get my goggles before I do this. Right, we have to knock off all the loose mortar from the previous build. This isn't a very good job, it's tedious, but it has to be done. Some is tougher than the others, so be careful as you're chiseling it off. I always go from the end towards the other brickwork, never from the side, because you can loosen the bricks. Then we dress off the bricks and we should be ready to go. Let's get to the building. Okay, I've got 3 and 1, 3 of sand, 1 of cement, and I've chosen my way of mixing it is in the wheelbarrow because it's such a small amount. That's all the sand I've got actually, so I'm using this and I'm going to mix it up now. Now there's a tip I want you to show you. This is just washing up liquid detergent in America. So I always put this into the sand and cement. It acts as a good plasticizer. You can't work with cement and sand together without having some sort of additive in it. You can, but it's not very good. It falls off the trowel, it's hard to work with, and it's very difficult to point up at the end. With a bit of fairy liquid in, or some kind of plasticizer that you can buy from your builder's merchant. But I always use a bit of fairy liquid. If I was on a big job, then yes, you put in a professional mortar plasticizer. But for a small job like this, this is a little tip. So I always just tip a bit in like that. Bearing in mind this sand is quite damp. So with putting fairy liquid in, or detergent, you have to watch how much water you put in, because what happens when you put detergent in, it knocks a lot of air into the mix. And so if it's already wet, the sand is, it goes really sloppy. So you've got to add just a little bit of water, because the more you mix it, the more you turn the sand and cement, the more air you knock into the mortar, and the more workable it becomes, or the more wet it becomes. So I'll just show you. As you've just seen, I've added water to it, but the temptation is to put more water in because it doesn't seem to be wet enough. But the more you turn it, the wetter it will become. And so if you put more water in, it'll become just like slurry. So you just watch this as I move closer and to show you. So again, it looks dry, but the more you move it about, the wetter it becomes. And so you have to be very, very careful. You don't want it too wet, because these blocks don't absorb the water. And so it's better that you just keep turning it a bit. So if I get a bigger shovel on this, also makes your mortar smell nice. But as I'm wetting it up, it's getting wetter. And the more you slap it like this, the wetter it becomes. It knocks more air into the mortar. So I'll show you in a little while when I've knocked it up. See, it's getting wetter now as I just simply move it around. But I'm holding this so I can't get two hands on it. But you can see the texture's changing. But if I put more water to that, it'll be just become so wet, or it'll be unusable. I have to put it on something dry to soak out the moisture. So I'll continue mixing and I'll catch you later.
Really smashing the cement around like this knocks a lot of air into it. Thus, it makes the fairy liquid or the detergent work for you. It makes it more pliable and more fluffy and more creamy. So give it a good knocking around.
The more I move it around in the barrow, the more wetter it will get. You see?
So just keep moving it around. Be rough with it, and this will really make your cement workable. And so I just want to give you some more tips on how to use the trowel and how to use the mortar on the trowel, how to apply it to the brickwork. So here we go.
So when you're building as well, it's nice to get a roll on your trowel like that so you can spread it. So I always like to chop it, pick it, spread it. Okay, I always like to think that organisation is the key. I like to organise everything. I've got my bricks stacked, I've got my mortar ready at hand, I've got space to move, I've got a nice clean site. Always clean your site before you start, or else you're tripping over everything, you can't find your tools. And so I'm going to wet this. It's swept off, as you can see, cleaned it off. I'm just going to damp it down. I'm going to use a brush and just damp it, not too much because these stones don't absorb the moisture like normal bricks. They're quite hard, and so it takes a little bit of going off. So I'm going to start with this firstly, so let's do the job. What you can see here is the difference in thickness between the two bricks. This is the problem I've got. You've got this thickness in one and you've got this thickness in the other, and so it's all at random and goes all over the place. But you know, I'll show you in a bit a wall that I built a few years back using these bricks, and I took time to sort out each block, various sizes, and then I worked with those bricks at that size, and I got it quite uniform. So we'll look at that when I finish this job. Okay, so I'm going to start now.
Right, taking your brick and dry laying them out is always wise. I usually try the bricks against the others to see if they're working, and when you've ascertained that, then you can start. Now, using the technique I told you about by rolling the cement and then applying it to the bricks, I've only used a small bit for the first one, and as you gradually lay the bricks on, you can use more on the trowel, depending on the size and the area. Again, I don't use a level on each brick. I just guess the mortar joint size and lay it, and then after a while I will take the level and level it through, which I will show you in a minute, as I'm just coming to that point now before I show you.
So usually by guessing your joint size with the rest, I always put a load down first, because I never put each brick on and then level that brick. That is not good bricklaying. You put them down, a few down, and then you use your level to level them up, and that's speed. Okay, if you want to make any money, you've got to be quick. But I can't be bothered messing about with each brick, so let me just show you how to plumb up and how to level across. But again, bearing in mind these bricks are all at different sizes, as I showed you earlier. So I'll show you a few tips on how to use the level. So we're going to plumb vertical, we're going to do it upright, and I'll show you by doing it now and explaining over. So what you do, you put your level at the bottom, put your foot against it and push the level against the brickwork, and then that will show you down the side if it's level or not. And by pushing against it or looking down the side of the level, you can see whether your the bricks are in line with your level. Okay, that's just roughly done. What we're going to do is let this mortar go off a bit, because the way that it's pointed has to be dry or going off, so that you can cut it and you can point it and shape the mortar. On the rest of the brickwork it's raked out and I don't like it, so I think it's going to be stronger if I point it. And we'll do that in a minute when it's gone off. Okay, you can see that I finished that now, and that mortar has to go off, ready for pointing as we said. Let's just have a look at the rest of the brickwork. As you see, it's not very good, but it's just a quick tutorial and how you can use rough bricks to make a bit of a wall. But I'm going to show you my other wall that I did some years back, and it's pointed. Okay, this is my drive, my garden actually, and as you can see I've done the pathway with it. I built a wall and a barbecue, and I'm just going to take you across to have a look at it now. This is the path. That's the barbecue. I designed it with my wife. Probably the sun's not on it very well, but this is the brickwork when it's pointed, what it looks like, and it looks very nice. As you can see, the joints are pointed, not raked, and I think it gives you a better feel. But each brick has to be individually picked and worked, because they're all different sizes. And what they're basically for is for the pathway like this. Yes, many hours of work.
Just testing the mortar to see if it's gone off enough, and then decide to point it. And this is what we do. Fill the perps first, make sure they're nice and full. Using the two trowels, you can cut a piece and put it in like this. And just for speed, I've speeded it up. And making sure that every joint is flattened and pushed across. And when you've done this, you can take your trowel and your level, and make sure your level's level, and cut it across. Take the excess off, and it gives you a nice flush pointed. Making sure that they're all filled and flattened. This is the finished result.
Of course it needs to be brushed now, and that will give a nice clean effect, blending it all together. Okay, just to finish it off, what we do, we just give it a light brushing with a brush like this, and that blends it all in. Sweep it down, and as I say, it just blends it all in.
Cheers.